Today what we'd like to do is go through a bit of an overview about phishing and why prevention is better than cure, and that there is a different way to look at phishing. So that's kind of what we want to cover off. We'll run through a bit of a background about the typical phishing attacks, the success rates, the impact of phishing, a quick review of the usual approaches to tackling phishing. So what do organizations typically do to address phishing? So in terms of phishing rates and phishing success, so if you look at who's heard of the Verizon data breach report? Yeah, some. Okay, so it's a very good, useful resource. It's worth looking up. It's free. It's always good in my book. It's the Verizon corporate data breach report. It has a huge amount of intelligence and statistics and analysis of data breaches that have occurred, and it's published annually. And the latest report says that basically phishing was involved in around 90% of cyber attacks, successful attacks in the last year. And typically around 4% of users will actually respond to a phishing email. So that's quite a high hit rate for any kind of campaign. It's much more successful than our marketing campaigns. But the more phishing emails that someone has clicked, there's also a statistic there that says that they're actually more likely to do that again. And the reality is that even once a phishing attack has been detected, in the enterprise, typically that first report won't come in until about 28 minutes later from someone who actually gets the fact that the organization is under attack. So by that time, people have clicked on it. People have been lulled into disclosing login credentials on a spoofed URL or fake login page. So these are the sort of statistics around the success of phishing attacks. So it's a real threat. What we want to talk about now is these are the typical traditional approaches to phishing. So it's all about risk reduction. You're not eliminating the risk. You're trying to hopefully educate and get people into a point where they're aware of phishing risks and that they take their responsibilities seriously, as because they love information security, as all employees do. But there's more you can do, and one of the things that you can do is with my1login, you can actually my1login provide an identity and access management solution. So we have a totally modular set of IAM products that include single sign-on for web, single sign-on for thick client desktop apps, so kind of legacy desktop executables, privileged password management, and a few other product modules. The key benefits of our solution are that you can do things like detect shadow IT. So you can actually you can use our solution to auto-discover which web applications that users are actually logging into, because quite often there's the whole thing about the known knowns and the known unknowns, and then the unknown unknowns, if you want to do the Donald Rumsfeld thing from 10 years ago, whenever it was. But the world of unknown unknowns is out there, and shadow IT is prolific, and that increases identity sprawl in your organization. So identities are being used in more and more cloud apps. Departments are autonomously choosing to adopt applications and use them out with the knowledge of IT. So all of that compounds this whole phishing risk, because these apps are out there, people are logging in with passwords. So with my1login, you can actually detect the shadow IT that's out there. But then you can do something a bit more intelligent with it. You can actually use my1login's IAM solution to set a central policy and force changes to the user's passwords on the target applications. and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So that means you're moving away from a world where users are choosing their own relatively weak passwords to a position where the system has generated extremely strong and complex passwords and set them on the target applications, so on the third-party apps. And it also delivers single sign-on into all application types, so whether it's thick clients or web applications. But going back to the web applications, if you choose a single sign-on solution that can go out and automatically discover the web apps being used, it will notify you of these applications, and you can make a simple policy decision. You can essentially flick a switch and say, yes, that URL is a valid business domain, so I want to include that with the IAM system. And when you switch it to say include, it means that the next time users try and authenticate with that app, my1login will sign them straight in using the credentials that they have for that application. So that means that all of the employees' logins and authentication is seamlessly linked to their directory login. So all they have to do is log into the directory, and then my1login seamlessly authenticates them behind the scenes with all other apps. So there's no need to ask them to use a portal or do something different. They just start getting authenticated with the apps using the identities, relevant identities for that. So when it comes to setting the policy, you can actually, the big question is, well, how do you do this thing called eliminating phishing, right? Yes, we can eliminate phishing. How bold a claim is that? So, never say, don't be silly. There's no way you can eliminate phishing. Well, by setting these passwords for the password policies for the third-party apps in my1login, you could say, let's take an application like let's say like Salesforce, for instance. So if you've got users, if you're not using SAML and you have users logging in with usernames and passwords into Salesforce, you could set a policy in the my1login system to say, the next time users log into Salesforce, force a change to their password and make it 40 characters long, totally random, high entropy, and then hide it from the user, okay? Because the user doesn't need to know it anymore. It's all linked to their AD profile, so as soon as the users go to Salesforce next time, they will just get authenticated with the credentials for that application. They don't know the credentials for that application. You're taking the password management problem away from something that's in the hands of the users, where users will store them in spreadsheets or in their mobile phones or upload them to put them in the cloud and securely. You're moving that out of their hands and putting the business back in control of passwords. But what it means is that if you've taken these passwords out of the user's control and you've used our system to generate these strong passwords and set them on the target applications, and the users don't know the passwords, then if they don't know the passwords, how can they be phished? Okay? So this is a totally different way of looking at phishing, and particularly with leveraging your IAM solution with this sort of functionality to make sure that you can actually eradicate the phishing on certain applications. So the additional benefits of our solution would be that you can provide single sign-on into all application types. And that can either be via a portal, like you've probably seen, and many of the vendors in this space operate with a portal for single sign-on. But actually, one of the unique things about us is that you don't need to use a portal. So this can also operate seamlessly in the background, where it's essentially transparent for the employees. So you don't have any, as soon as you put something new in front of users, you have a training problem, you have to overcome, you're creating barriers to rollout, you're creating barriers to adoption, you're kind of asking them to, would you mind engaging with this new system, and because it will actually help you. Right, users don't want to change behaviors, right? So with us, you can actually roll this out seamlessly in the background, so that it just runs in the background. It knows who the user is that's authenticated on the Active Directory, and will automatically log them into any third-party application, thick client or web app, as soon as they launch that app. So they don't have to go through a portal. So that makes the whole process of rolling out much more straightforward. And then there's the additional business benefits, and you get, yes, you can eliminate phishing, but you get a whole pile of other security benefits alongside that. You as I said, you put the business back in control of passwords, and instead of leaving password management in the hands of the users. You get productivity benefits because people aren't having to fiddle about and remember which username is it and which password combination. Is it my personnel number? Is it my AD username? Is it my email address? You know what? That's just the username. Let alone that's before they've even started thinking about what password to type in. So you're taking all of that pain away and increasing productivity, and you're addressing the whole compliance piece. So with the compliance piece, you've got the backdrop of GDPR. There's got to be audit trails. Who's got access to what systems and data? Have you got effective controls around that? All of that you get in one place with an IAM solution. So that's it in summary. That's what we do. We work across a variety of sectors. We've won a number of awards for our approach to this in the security industry. Topping off with the other actions on the IAM solution itself. Use an IAM solution that can go out and auto-discover the web apps being used, and use an IAM solution that can go out and forcibly update user passwords, change them to something random, and hide them from the users so the users don't know the passwords, because if they don't know them, how can they be phished?
I understood you to be saying that it automatically provides the password into approved or listed applications. If the application is something like Word that wants a password to open a file because it's been password protected, can it actually provide the password in that context?
It can. Yeah, my1login can do that. So we have a desktop client integrator which works with anything that presents itself as an executable on the desktop. So any Windows form window or child window that opens, like the password prompt window on Windows, we can execute the log and essentially authentication into that. So.
Does your product support any other directory servers besides Active Directory?
Yeah, sure. So anything that's LDAP compliant. If you're using Azure Azure Directory, we can integrate with that. It uses the AD Sync service. So yeah, it supports multiple directories. Okay.
I'm quite interested in employees that use their work computer to also do private things.
Sorry,
I take my laptop home with me and I use it to access, say, my Yahoo account using my private email address rather than my company email address.
Yep.
What sort of level of coverage does your solution achieve?
It's flexible as to how you configure the policies. So you can either decide to exclude specific domains and applications from being integrated with the system, or you can decide only to include essentially a specific list of known or approved apps, or you can allow the system to go out and give the user the choice as to whether they include it or not. So you've got the flexibility at the point where it's configured. Any more questions? Yep. Can everyone hear the questions as they're being asked, by the way? Yeah? Okay.
How might this work on applications where you would have multiple credentials?
It's a great question. So when you launch the application that has multiple credentials, instead of authenticating the user straight away, it will come up with a nice little drop-down list embedded in the user name field of the app, the web app they're trying to access. So it's very intuitive. It's all on page, and it will come up with a little drop-down list. And even if let's say you have 100 credentials, if it's an admin that's got maybe 100 sets of credentials for a specific IT application, it will shortlist about 5 of them, but enable us an on-page search box so they can quickly search through, find the one they want, and authenticate.
And would that only be with web apps? You wouldn't get that sort of support?
No, you get that. You get that with the executables as well. So when you launch a desktop executable, if you have more than one identity for it, it will pause. It will not execute a login. It will pause, shortlist the ones that are available for that user and for that application, and the user can select which one they log into. So it works with everything from, sort of some of the more edge cases like SAP and Oracle authentication, where they can they have apps that have their own launchers essentially, and it works with all of that. So.